Hobby Quick Hits, delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Hobby Quick Hits. Today's topic, labeling in the hobby. And I think we've all been guilty of it at least once, if not more, including myself. And again, not all labeling is in a negative connotation, but some of it is. And the older I get, hopefully the wiser I get. I just don't like labels. I just don't know, other than if there was a job description, which is a title, not a label. I don't know what purpose they serve. I think a high percentage of them are sort of have a derogatory connotation to it, and I'm not fond of using them. And I think we're seeing more of that as the hobby sort of gets segmented, and we like to and it's been going on for the dawn of time, right? We put labels on people, on things, and again, not a fan. I'm gonna delve into that, maybe why it happens, how we can be better, myself included, and stop doing it. And even though it's happening, also, there's two sides to that coin, right? If it bothers you, sort of how you can sort of just, block out that white noise and just keep doing whatever you want to do within the hobby. So that's what we're tackling today. We're going to hear from our great sponsors, Mojo Brakes, and then we're going to get this show underway.
MojoBrakeShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and brakes. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports card to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
Hey guys, John Newman here. Mojo's prices are already great, but to save an additional 10% off anything in their store, use the code QUICKHITS. That's QUICKHITS. Check out the full service store that's open 7 days a week in Santa Clara, California, or the website at mojobreak.com.
Let's check out this week's Hobby Wax releases. Take it away, Max.
Hi everybody, it's Max from the Sports Card Shop in New Buffalo, Michigan, bringing you guys the weekly releases for this week. And we're going to start off the week with, on the first, we have Leaf Exotic Football, Panini Zenith Football, Topps Gilded Collection Baseball. And on the third, we have Onyx Nimbus Collection Multisport, Panini Prism Collegiate Draft Picks Baseball. And on the 8th, we have Panini Donruss Football, Panini Immaculate UFC, and Pro Set Pure Multisport, along with Wildcard Auto Mania Football Retail. And on the 10th, we have Decision 2022 Trading Cards and Panini Mosaic Basketball Fast Break. Hope you guys enjoy the show, and those are our weekly releases. Have a nice day.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
Lots of news stories to cover the last 2 weeks. I think everyone's heard the next one. Matt Howell of New Jersey went into Bob's Sports Cards, bought a pack of National Treasures, and got quite a card. He got the 1/1 Babe Ruth game-used jersey and supposed to be cut auto. However, George Brett cut auto was in there rather than the Babe Ruth. Not sure if there's a George Brett card rolling around with a Babe Ruth cut, but the Babe Ruth card has a George Brett cut. The owner of the store contacted Panini and are told that will be rectified, and that's all we know at this point in time. Not a great look on Panini, although it is getting a lot of buzz, and they say there is no bad publicity. So Panini getting their name out in the hobby news as that story's sort of making the rounds and having an extended life. I'm always a sucker for a good Jackie Robinson story. That's not a story, but a card. 1952, Jackie Robinson, classic card, tops, graded CSG 1, so low grade, 52, tops Jackie. But this one's not your ordinary Jackie. 1/8 of the card is miscut and contains the iconic 52 tops mantle. Just the right edge of that mantle card appears miscut onto the Jackie, but getting a lot of attention. If you want to be the new owner of that card, head over to SCP Auctions, where the auction is ongoing as we speak. Speaking of auctions, our great sponsor, Robert Edward Auctions, just finished up their January opening auction of the year. New record for them, 59,000 bids, 3,000 items, and they raised over $1.1 million. Some of the highlights of that January auction include an 86 Jordan PSA 9, which brought $17,400. A Mays 52 tops, we talked about this on the previous show, graded PSA 1.5, but also signed by Willie Mays. That signature graded a 7. That card brought $16,800. And a Buttercrust Cy Young from 1911, I believe, brought $15,600. So great out of the box auction for REA here in January. Speaking of another auction, Golden has the Hand of God ball from Maradona from the 1986 World Cup that runs to February 8th. And last year, the jersey that Maradona wore during that play brought $9.3 million. This is the actual ball. So we'll see where this auction winds up. I don't think it's going to beat that $9.3 million for the jersey, but cool piece of history right there. A complete 1953 tops set, all graded PSA, is going on the Heritage auction block. It's the fourth best graded 53 top set. Somehow, no cards are lower than an 8 except 2. The Mantle is a 7, and the Maze is a 57. Still great cards, great grades, and everything else except those 2 cards, Mantle Maze at 7s, everything else is a 8 or higher in that graded set. So expected to bring about $600K is the expected auction value of that set. A great set, one of my favorite sets, and somehow that's a fourth best on the registry with only 2 cards lower than a 7. So there's 3 other crazy sets out there that I'm sure the owners are going to be keeping a close eye on this auction to see, where it winds up, because their 3 sets somehow are above this one in the rankings. Last but not least, great story. Upper Deck, I always say they do great things, kind of ahead of the curve. And they put together an 8-card Indigenous people NHL set. These are 8 players with Indigenous roots that played in the NHL but never got a card made. And so they're finally getting a card. It's going to be an 8-card set. This started on January 13th. There's 10,000 of these sets produced. They'll be distributed throughout Canada at camps and youth tournaments, and also at Indigenous-owned LCS Front Row Collectibles in Manitoba, Winnipeg, Canada. So, cool little set. Only 10,000 of them made. If you want to grab it, now's your chance. And kudos to Upper Deck for producing that overdue cards for those players that made it to the league but didn't get their cards in a card set.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, guys, this one can be sometimes a sticky subject because, when we talk about labeling someone, again, it's not always negative. A lot of times it's not positive. So, every instance is its own scenario. I try not to do it, but 99% of us do it, right? Or a high percentage of us do it. I do it a lot less now than I've ever done before. And even when I do use labeling, or label someone something, it's really not in a negative connotation. For example, I'll say someone is into the high end of the hobby, right? Because they're spending 4, 5, 6 figures or more, on cards. I don't think we can argue that's high end, right? Nothing wrong with that. We've heard the label flippers, right? People who get a card one day and soon turn around and sell it the next day or very quickly soon after. I've done that. I don't consider myself a flipper, but I've acquired something and within the same week probably resold it. I don't really consider that flipping. I just consider it resale. But, we when that crescendo happened in the hobby, we had that influx of people coming in that were sort of in to make a quick buck, if you will, and buy on Monday, sell on Tuesday. We use the term flippers. And when I use it, I don't even use it in a negative connotation, right? We see shows on TV, right? Flipping houses, flipping storage bins via auction, right? It's just being an entrepreneur and making money and transacting. And in this case, transaction in the hobby are a positive things, right? Sometimes a label can be looked at as both positive and negative. So, for example, new money, right? If you follow the show for an extended period of time, you know it's not one of my favorite terms. They know I had Susan Luzerage on. It's a term she was using and I wasn't fond of, and she was on the show and we talked about it, and she said she doesn't mean it in a negative way, and I just try not to use that term because it has the money aspect, and we were all new money at one time or another, right? For me, I was new money in 1979 as a 7-year-old kid. Probably knew not much money would have been what I would have been labeled at that time, as I was just buying packs and trading and that sort of thing. But I was new money at when I first got in the hobby. It's sort of a poker term that I think we've adopted in other niches, hobby included. And I just try to avoid it. New hobbyist, new collector, I might refer in those terms. But, to each their own, right? But I've really made a conscious effort, folks, to really not use labels anywhere near, where I may have before. I know people's feelings can get hurt. Another term that's really, I'm hearing a lot lately, 2 terms actually, purist and true collector. And if you ask me I'm not even sure I know what the definition of purist in the hobby means. I think when people are called purists, they mean someone's been in the hobby a while, old-fashioned, sort of set in their ways, maybe a little bit. And I guess I'd be a purist, but I would never label myself a purist. I'm just a hobbyist, right? So true collector. What does a true collector really mean? If you keep anything for your own personal collection, PC, aren't you a true collector? Does true collector mean you don't sell cards at all? Because if that's really what it means, then I'm not a true collector either. I do set up shows as a dealer, but I have quite a nice PC, if I might be so bold to say. I'm collecting Hall of Fame graded rookies, right? That's my PC. Am I not a true collector? So some of these labels, I don't even, and I've been doing this a long time, and I don't even know really what the definition of them are. And if I don't know the definition of something, I'm definitely not calling somebody that, right? I'm going to try not to call anyone any names anyway, but if I don't know what the definition of something is, I'm not going to throw that at you and put it on you. And we've seen more of that. I've seen a lot of YouTube shows with that in the titles. I've heard content refer to it or talk about it, much like now I am on Hobby Quick Hits. And I don't really want to do it. And maybe probably the closest I get to it is using the term flipper, or part of the high end, part of the hobby. And those aren't in a negative connotation. Flippers are in any part of entrepreneurial type things, and in any part of business, right? People buy stocks one day and sell it the next. They're flipping stocks. People buy houses, fix them up, and flip them rather quickly. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make them bad people. Matter of fact, it makes most people very smart, especially when they come out ahead in that equation. So, someone asked me as a seller of cards, they're like, John, do you consider yourself a flipper? No, I consider myself a dealer who pays sales tax on his transaction. If you want to call me a flipper because I might acquire something and sell it in the same week or a couple days later, it's more the exception than the rule. I'm more of a we'll hold inventory type deal, but I've been called worse than a flipper. Let me just put it that way. So I'm just not going to take exception to it if it's coming from a non-malicious place. But a lot of times these terms, as you well know out there, come from malicious place, right? They're meant to hurt feelings or to make someone look bad, and I'm not going to do that. And I wish, I hope you out there, if you're doing it, consider not doing it. If you're not doing it, kudos to you, and don't fall down that pratfall, right? And it's a two-sided coin. If we also too, if we're called different things, hey, you're a purist, or you're not a true collector, or you're a true we got to stop worrying too much about what other people think. And I don't mean that exactly the way it sounds. You'll hear me on my content, right? Hey, let me know what you think of the show. Give me your feedback. I care what you think. And that's all true, not lip service. 100% true. There's been segments of the show that don't exist no more because people said, John, hey, not a fan of it. Don't like it. I know your intentions were good. Just doesn't play well out there. So I appreciate that feedback. But at the same time, I can't lose sleep, right, over every name I'm called or labeled that might be put on me. And I think we've got to be a little thicker skinned at the end of the day. There's a million people in the hobby. I don't know what every one of those folk are saying about either the show or me or whatever. And I can't really worry about it, right? And so I only worry about what I can control. And I wasn't always like that. As a younger person, I was more nervous about stuff like that, tried to make everyone like me, wanted everyone to like me. And then you get older and you're like, you know what? I'm going to be myself. I'm going to give my honest opinion and let the chip fall where they may. And I've gotten thicker skin. I've gotten to the point where I do care what you think, as long as it's constructive and not malicious. And if it's malicious, I've learned to sort of turn that other cheek, right? Just kind of, I know a lot of malicious stuff comes from people who are unhappy themselves. And that's where I hang my hat on that pen. That, hey, that person being a jerk or a schmuck because they're just unhappy and they're trying to get as many people on their unhappy boat as possible. And I'm not jumping on that ship. So I'll just kind of keep it moving, as the cousins would say, and not going to go there. And but I think we need to do less labeling. We're all in this hobby together. I don't care if you're buying a $100,000 card or you're buying a $20 card or a quarter card out of a bargain box. We're all in this greatest hobby, as Dr. Jim says, in the world together. However you choose to do it, again, disclaimer, you're doing it the right way, not doing anything illegal or malicious, right? We're all in this fraternity called the sports card, non-sports card hobby, right? Trading card hobby. Even, I'm not a Pokemon guy, but people, big thing, right? We're still in the hobby of trading cards together. We've sort of got to embrace that sort of way of thinking, I think, and it's what I kind of do. I may not do something, or may not be my cup of tea, but I don't look down upon anybody. Everyone has a different thing they enjoy or way they want a hobby, and we can share the show floor together and share a lot of common traits and common feelings. Get away from labeling. That being said, if we've got to be thicker skinned too. Every time we just can't get up in arms and lose sight of what we're trying to do, right? Enjoy our collection, maybe help other people acquire stuff for their collection and that sort of thing. And the people we meet along the way, right? Hobbies to people. Don't always say that, even though it's my tagline, but it's true. And that's the thing, when it comes to labeling, remember, we're all people, right? We're all human beings, right? That's really the one label we all share, unless you're from another planet, which I was accused of one time. But under normal circumstances, right, we're all human beings, and treat each other as best we can, and help each other out, right? Advocate and ambassador. That's the label I wanna. If I get labeled anything, I don't care about purist or true collector. Two labels I really want to have at the end of the day that I won't complain about or won't mind is the two A ones, right? And not as a third A one we'll talk about, but advocate and ambassador, right? I want people to know that I care about the hobby. I'm trying to promote the hobby, and I'm trying to help fellow hobbyists out by being an ambassador and an advocate, and maybe teaching a little bit and definitely learning. I learn something about the hobby every day, whether I'm trying to or I'm not trying. Naturally occurs because the hobby changes so much. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. Be nice to everybody. I think, I want to close with sort of, kind of the lesson of the day, if you will. Be nice to everybody. Try to help people out. Try to treat people fairly. Try not to judge people. I know we're all guilty of it at some point or another, but try to do your darndest to just embrace everyone in the hobby we all share. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/sportscardnationpodcast/ Twitter, we are at sportscardnat1, so it's sportscard NATI1. Instagram at sportscardnationpodcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.